Before Trump had ever stepped foot into the courtroom for his New York criminal trial, right-wing media was in overdrive, spinning the impending trial as a boon to Trump and his electoral prospects. They have spent years wallowing in their own victimhood, and so the prospect of Donald Trump being on trial, being the ultimate victim, was like red meat for the base, literally. Only outside of the Fox News bubble, things haven't really seemed to pan out that way. Because in reality, while Trump frames his prosecution as some big bonus for himself, the reasons why this trial is actually a disaster for him are starting to take shape. First of all, and I feel like this goes without saying, but there is no virtue in the prospect of Trump becoming a convicted felon, and he knows it. According to the latest Reuters Ipsos poll from a few weeks back, when registered voters were asked if they could vote for Trump if he was convicted of a felony, only 24% said yes, while 60% said no. Even among Republicans, 24% said they wouldn't, which is a huge number of voters in a party whose identity is solely predicated on allegiance to the God King. And now that the trial has begun, the possibility of a conviction is suddenly very real, along with the consequences that come with it. But beyond the large-scale implications, there's also the day-to-day optics of Trump in the courtroom. He's now fallen asleep, according to reporting, on multiple occasions.
Really quickly, if I can, Lisa, your observations on Donald Trump today.
Sleeping. Again, you know, they have tried a number of different devices. Yeah, sleeping for a lot of it. I would say they've tried a number of different devices to keep Trump awake, partially in response, or what appears to be in response to collective press corps observations. So, for example, when there are sidebars, an attorney doesn't leave his side anymore because leaving him alone means leaving him to potentially sleep. He has a stack of papers with him at all times now to go through. But neither of those things seem to have protected Trump from his own exhaustion today. More than not, when I looked up to see how Trump was receiving the testimony, Trump was not receiving it at all.
And look, I'm sure it's boring in there, I'll give him that, but if your principal attack against your opponent is that he is literally sleepy, then your only job, Donald, is to stay awake. And the fact that Trump, the self-appointed leader of the Sleepy Joe movement himself, can't manage to do that severely limits his ability to then go out during these pivotal last few months of campaigning and claim that Biden is tired. Biden, for his part, is all over the country.
Thank you for the warm welcome. But please, not so loud. Donald was listening. Sleepy Don. I kind of like that. I may use that again.
And I would like to point out, it's after 10 p.m. Sleepy Joe is still awake, while Donald Trump has spent the past week falling asleep in court every morning. Though Fox News said he was just being anti-woke.
In the last few weeks, Biden's been to Philly, Scranton, Pittsburgh, Delaware, Baltimore, and Madison, Wisconsin. Meanwhile, Trump looks like he's sponsored by Ambien. And when he does manage to stay awake, frankly, the guy looks weak. He's reduced to these sad little courtroom hallway press conferences where he invokes the names of Fox guests, who Trump calls legal scholars, saying that the prosecution is wrong.
Thank you very much. So we begin again. This is a case that should never have been brought. Every single major legal scholar, Jonathan Turley, Greg Jarrett, Andy McCarthy, Dershowitz, every single scholar, Mark Levin, the great Mark Levin, had a whole show on it last night, said that this is a disgraceful case. It's a disgrace to the New York state and city court system.
He even whined that he's going to miss Barron's graduation before the judge ruled on it. And just this week, the judge actually gave him permission to go, which, as an aside, I think is so funny. Because I would bet my last dollar that the guy had zero interest in schlepping over to the kid's graduation. He just wanted to use it to evoke some sympathy while casting himself as the victim. But now that he made such a big stink about it, he has to go, or else his supporters will realize that he was always full of it. And so now, he's forced to sit through a graduation ceremony that he likely never wanted to go to because this whole scheme backfired. Some nice little poetic irony there. But more broadly, the result of this whole trial is that Trump just looks weak. He looks pathetic. He's supposed to be strong, but he's just this kind of tired old man who whines and complains a lot. It's not strong, it is embarrassing. And it runs counter to this whole strongman shtick that Trump has going for him, because far from looking strong, Trump looks depleted, tired, and fragile.
He seems thinner than I have seen him in the past. He seems considerably older. and he seems annoyed, resigned, maybe angry. He seems like a man who's miserable to be here. And again, that's, I'm no body language expert, and this is just my observation, but he seemed old and tired and mad.
When he came out.
I probably would seem that way, too, if I was looking at this kind of a proceeding.
Yeah, not exactly great optics for his branding. Add that to the fact that Biden and Democrats are continuing to get it done. We've had a strong economy, job growth is still defying the odds and surging, unemployment is below 4% for 26 straight months, the stock market is strong, Ukraine aid was signed into law, inhalers have been capped at $35 per month in certain patients, non-competes are now illegal, marijuana is being declassified as a Schedule I drug, and organizers have been working to get abortion on the ballot in November throughout the country, including in Florida, Montana, Arizona, New York, Maryland, and Nevada. The contrast between the two parties could not be more obvious, and it's coming to a head at a bad time for Republicans. All of which is to say, Republicans may try to put lipstick on the pig that is Trump's prosecution, but I think the whole thing has been disaster after disaster. And considering a criminal conviction may be at the end of this tunnel, things may only be getting worse for Donald Trump. Before you go, to see more content from MSNBC, make sure to subscribe to this channel by clicking the link right here on this screen. And you can also follow the link to see some exclusive content only on TikTok.